Hi, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Children and Coercive Control. I really want to highlight the experiences of children who live under the regime, I call it, of a coercive controller. It's not too harsh of a term. Oftentimes, this abuse is covert. Most of the people in the family system don't even know it's occurring. Sometimes it can be overt, and when it is more recognizable, which unfortunately can be that much more significantly physically violent. However, when people know it's happening, no one doubts you. And so I thought I'd start off today by talking about the grief that is experienced by victims and survivors. And when we think about how horrifying the loss is when you have either been in a relationship for a few months, a few weeks, or many years, over the course of many years, and all of a sudden you begin to realize you've been with someone who's been harming you in some way, like seriously, you can't even believe what's been going on. And they have insidiously and very covertly had secrets and lies. And oftentimes, as we say, the accusation is the confession. So they've been accusing you and gaslighting you into believing that maybe you need to fix yourself. Something's wrong with you. Now, we could talk about that forever because there's so much to unpack there. But let's just pivot a little bit to the children in the home and what that's like for them when they're living with a parent that maybe is fun or maybe is scary. There's a variety of ways coercive controllers show up. They show up in a way that benefits them the most. That's the key, right? And so they are going to expose our vulnerabilities. And what they do oftentimes by exposing those vulnerabilities is they think about what would be most harmful to the adult victim. And that is, again, very often to weaponize children. So children can be aligned as soldiers against the protective parent. And this creates a dynamic that is filled with contempt in the family system, and also a lot of triangulation, right? Because coercive controllers enjoy the process of pitting people against each other. So going back to pivoting to children, what is that like for them? They are confused. They have a developing brain that is in many ways broken. It is not capable of discerning what's harmful or not harmful. And depending on the healthy ego of the child, whether their ego is very healthy or it's compromised, is going to determine whether or not that child more readily aligns with the coercive controller. And so what I want you to think about, if you're a protective parent listening to this, and I hope to continue to unpack all of these issues here, but what I want you to think about is that there is a significant grief in all of that. Just like the adult victim has lost so much, is so flabbergasted by what they all of a sudden realize they've been living with, again, for a few months, a few years, or many years, whatever it is, that there is such an intense grief and loss with that. And that if that is something the adult victim is having, and it is recognized now by the adult victim, by the way, because we can talk about it, we can express this grief and loss. Imagine children who don't even know they're grieving anything, who don't even realize there's a loss. They are so confused. They are so gaslit. And oftentimes they are even, I call it, experiencing intuition disintegration by the protective parent. The protective parent is trying to keep everything together, is minimizing maybe bad behaviors by the coercive controller, just in an attempt to create equilibrium in the home. And so I don't call it gaslighting by the protective parent, because protective parents, that's not malicious. They're not doing it maliciously. They're doing it in a way to protect, but by doing that, they diminish their child's intuition. They disintegrate their child's intuition. And I'll do another YouTube on that. So the reality is they are grieving and don't even know it. So just like the adult victim is grieving, and they actually know it now, think about that pain that if you're the adult victim and survivor, you are dealing with. There's so much pain in that. There's betrayal trauma. It's a compound trauma. And I call it beyond complex trauma. It's compound on top of that. There are layering effects of the trauma. It's not just happening a lot, complex. but it is also a layering effect of the trauma. There's betrayal trauma. There's all of the trauma bonding. There's all of that you now, whoa, all of a sudden realize this is happening or happened to you. You're trying to escape, or you've escaped and you're still dealing with it because coercive control intensifies post-separation. So all of that is happening to you. And then now we have this little child, however old they are, they don't even know what's really happening to them. And they have no voice. They have no agency. You are just starting to get yours. So I just want to leave you with that. I hope it's helpful. Bye.